Yeah, so I've been given the unenviable task of introducing you, Jimmy.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, guys.
Jimmy and I have been, I think as most people know, Jimmy and I have been working super close with each other for a long time now. Jimmy, I'm going to let you talk about all the incredible work that you've done to support veterans coming into health and safety as a second career.
Wonderful.
And I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted that you're here as Jimmy Quinn, veteran, and Jimmy Quinn, IOSH president, to talk with two of your contacts and colleagues about how we can support women perhaps coming out of the military and considering health and safety as a potential career. So I'm gonna close down and hand over to you, Jimmy.
Okay, thanks very much, Louise. Hi, one and all, and it's wonderful to be here today. Before I introduce Caroline and Sara, just a quick one from me. So basically, I'm Jimmy Quinn, veteran, proud of it. I've been in construction and health and safety now for about 12 years. I've been very, very lucky, but also with a lot of hard work, and a lot of that hard work has come from developing further the skills that I learned as a veteran. I've said it many times that we are kind of broken in a way and sort of retuned to a really completely different way of thinking. And we concentrate a lot on teamwork, people, talking, communicating, and that is something that I've taken on in later life. So I'm just going to cost myself another £10 here and push the fund to another 100 to 140 now. As I am not the most cleverest person in the world, Louise, but I am a people person, and that's the thing that's worked for me. And not just me being a veteran, but when I look at the people like Caroline, who I've known for the best part of 20 years, and Sara, who I only met the last sort of 18 months, and heard them both speak, we were all sort of cut from the same cloth. So that's me, people person, more than anything else, and that's what's helped me get where I am today. Now I'll quickly introduce Sara as well. Sara, I met Sara through a mutual contact, a good friend of mine, Dusty Miller. As you all know, probably or not, in the forces we'll get nicknames. So you got Windy Miller, Dusty Miller, and it goes on and on and on and on. Anything you can get a nickname with, you'll find it in the forces. And we were doing an article in IOSH magazine, and came across Sara that way, and Sara threw herself headlong into assisting us and has been a constant whenever IOSH or any other organisation has requested Sara to speak. And then Caroline Buckle, an absolute tour de force, veteran, proud veteran, and now breaking records as soon as they come, breaks another one. Massive athlete, has competed at the highest level in the games. And I'll let them both introduce themselves to you now. Sara, then Caroline.
Hello. Well, thanks, Jimmy, for the introduction. I'm Sara. Like Jimmy, I've been out of the services now for about 12 years. I had a bit of a range of careers, from height safety, development harnesses, and full protection equipment and training side of things, and then now more recently moved into sort of like advisory and consultancy through health and safety. It seemed to be a bit of a magnet for ex-forces as well, which I love, because as Jimmy said, you know, we seem to be cut from the same cloth, and the communication is always wonderful to have there. And I served 13 years in the Royal Navy, lots of different things, but last 3 years as a firefighting and rescue instructor, so pretty varied, from construction to aviation to railway, so bounce about a bit. Thank you.
Thanks, Sara. And Caroline.
Hi, so I'm Caroline Buckle. I served in the forces, a mixture of reserve and regular force, for 17 and a half years. I was medically discharged 7 years ago, which really brought my career to an absolute grinding halt well before I wanted it to be. However, what I have learned and what I have become is quite a big influence within the recovery and sports aspect of life, and how you can readjust. It might take a bit of time, but you do readjust. You have drive, you have drive, determination, great time management, just to be able to put all of that in and then just become a force to be reckoned with, but also welcoming others into that fold, because at the same time there are others that are in the same boat that I was in 7 years ago that will need that help, that support, and it's through the experiences I've had that I'm able now to go on and help and support them.
Well, brilliant, Caroline, and we'll talk about that later on as we go through. I mean, your resilience, particularly yourself, is something to be embraced, and something that I think we definitely need to share on this group of people that we've got today. So I'll just go straight into it. The sort of first question to start the debate going, is that okay, Louise, just to crack straight on?
Absolutely, Jimmy, go for it.
Okay, so one of the first things then is, the sort of perspective on veterans focus, but looking at women and inclusion as veterans. I can't really answer this question. I can give my own thoughts in terms of as a male, but I don't see as a veteran male and female. I simply don't. I see veterans, I see colleagues, I see brothers, and I see sisters. But I equally see us all on the same footing. Some of us have more resilience than others. Some of us are more attuned to redeveloping ourselves and getting out there and having that second or third career. But essentially, we are all, and I say the same thing again, all essentially cut from the same cloth. And for me to talk about my perspective with a focus and leverage on women and inclusion as a veteran, I can't really answer that question, because if I look at inclusivity as a veteran, okay, we've got multiplex and we've got a small committee now, veteran committee. Now in that veterans committee, there's only 4 of us. We've got a soldier who's chairing, we've got a vice chair who is blue light, ambulance service, did some amazing in New Zealand, was at the Christchurch earthquake, an amazing person, Cara is. Then you've got Laura, who's our secretary, and me, who's an executive committee member. We've just got a silver ward. We're out there. We've got a 2/3, 1/3 split of female, male within multiplex as veterans. And that's where we are from that side. So in terms of the inclusivity part, in terms of veterans, I think I'm going to have to hand that one over to Sara and Caroline to give more of an in-depth answer. Caroline?
I don't think I ever saw any massive difference between male and female while I was serving, minus the basic training where we were split up. But other than that, whichever units I served with, and I was fortunate to be able to serve all over the world with many different units, some armoured corps which are predominantly male. It will be 496 males and 4 females in that unit, but there was never a difference. It was about what you brought to the party. It was about what job you did, and as long as you did your job properly and to the best of your ability, then there was never a divide. And I was really, really proud of that, and I still am really, really proud of that. And I'm the same as you, Jimmy. I don't see a difference in veterans either. They're my brothers and sisters in arms. I'm part of a band of brothers, and I'm quite happy to be that. In fact, I'm more than happy to be that, and I'm more than happy to be sort of in a way labelled as part of that group. It is for us. We do actually have a band of brothers club that is part of the Help for Heroes side, which is for those who have been injured in service. Some don't like the name, but I don't personally see that as a problem. We are individuals within that group, and we all bring something to it to be able to help others.
Yeah, and you and I, we were part of the same corps, and we've seen you know, we've seen operational tours and we've been out and been about, and you know, you do everything as one sort of group. You know, there isn't, when you go on operational tours, there isn't really that, you can't really escape from not being inclusive. You need to be inclusive because you are part of a tight-knit group. And you know, we can talk about being part of a REME workshop, or we can talk about part of being in the intelligence corps, where you know, males and females serve alongside with absolute equals. And for me, I've never seen it, but there may be an inclusivity thing if you're aboard a ship, though, Sarah.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there's no mixed messing or anything else like that. However hard we all try to do that, but no, it was segregated at that point. But actually, when you're, you know, in the ops room for me, or on part of ship, or, you know, on the forecastle, on the quarterdeck, or you know, on the guns, or anything else like that, you were just doing your job. You were an operator maintainer. You were an RP. You were, you know, you had that title. You weren't female, you weren't male, so it was a jigsaw that worked together, and if one piece wasn't doing what they should be doing, it kind of falls apart. But that wasn't because it was male or female divide, it was just, you know, that person not doing what they should be doing, you know. And I never felt that in the military, never felt that divide, or having to prove my worth because I was female, you know. It was never like that. You know, and it was nice to have the banter, and it was nice to be recognised as a female, but not that I was less equal than my counterparts. You know, so I never had that. No,
that's a good bit to move on to. Then just push on from that. So you can answer this as well, because there is a part here that says, you know. Yeah, we know why it's important about inclusion, inclusivity, and over the last sort of at least 20 years, I've seen more and more inclusion coming within the forces. But is there anything that you've seen from your side and talk to your friends that are in the Navy now, how much has been done to improve what was already improving?
I think there has been a lot of work. I mean, I work now with an ex-warrant officer, and he did a lot of equality and diversity, you know, within the past 5 years. And there's been a big movement towards making sure we've got inclusivity, not just male, female, but across all genders, or people that are trying to identify as maybe different genders from what they originally were when they first joined up. So, you know, with conversations with friends, I think it is moving forward, and it's always going to be a positive step forward. It can't go backwards, you know, it definitely can't. But yeah, some positive things coming out.
Good. Anything to add, Caroline?
Yeah, I think that the armed forces have definitely adapted and moved with the way of the world. They've had to adapt. The armed forces have had to become more accountable in a lot of ways, and that has been seen massively in the last few years. But I think it was slow to start off with, but now I think it has a massive driving force behind it. And speaking to people who are serving now, you know, I think alongside any civilian company, they are pretty much meeting exactly the same mark that is expected of civilian counterparts.
Yeah, that's a fair point. No, brilliant. Thank you both. Well, here's another question for you. This might not really be something for yourself, Caroline, but this one goes to you, I think, Sarah, initially, and then we can have a chat about it all. Now, I don't see it this way myself. I mean, why is health and safety a good career for female veterans to come into? And I think we'll probably hark back to why we are a special band of people that can move into that area quite well. But, you know, as yourself, as a female veteran, and, you know, why did you think it was a good career for you to move into, Sarah?
I kind of fell into it to a degree, excuse the pun, especially coming from a height safety background. But 3 years before I left, I started instructing firefighting techniques and got my teaching qualification off the back of it, and just really enjoyed the training aspect of the firefighting techniques and the search and rescue side of things. And so when I left, my background in the military was radar and gunnery. It was kind of, there was no transferable skills there at all. And so I was, you know, at the point of leaving, not too sure what I could do. And if I hadn't have got my teaching qualification at the point of leaving, I kind of was a bit stuck. And so I ended up going into a teaching role for a height safety company within this construction industry. And it just was a natural progression to then move into health and safety. And I knew a few people within, you know, ex-military, my colleagues or past colleagues, that was doing this. And it just policy, procedure is what we did in the military. It's Absolutely. How we move forward. Lots of briefing, as you've already said, Jimmy. Communication, you know, Absolutely. And that's the thing with health and safety. That's what it's all about: policy, procedure, and great communication. So it was a natural fit.
Yeah, definitely, and being able to work as a team. And you know, I look to my great friend and colleague Louise, who started in Louise had started her journey in sort of 30 odd years ago when it was a man's world. I mean, It's not particularly a man's world now, is it, Sarah?
No, it's not. No, there's some wonderful, you know, female influences, you know, within health and safety out there, and it's great to see what they're doing and how they're paving the way for us to follow on. One thing I will say though is when I am teaching at health and safety, I still have a need, or I feel I have a need to actually almost give my CV to my audience before, you know, I go, right, I'm credible. I'm coming in to teach you height safety or IOSH managing or whatever it is. I need to give that CV. But I look at my male counterparts and colleagues, they never do that. So I'm kind of wondering, is that something that I feel I need to project to, you know, make sure that they feel I'm competent enough, or what? I don't know. I think that's more me than my audience, really.
Well, I mean, I've spoken to you many times, and I know that you're competent just by speaking to you. I'm not just saying that you speak. But I can't imagine it would be anything else than a very competent session. But okay, Caroline, I'm just going to come to you for one because you're probably the most recently served one of the three of us here, and there's something that really interests this group and has interested the group for a while, especially Louise and our colleagues, is the PPE issue. Now, in the construction sector, we call it PPE, of course, but in the army, or in, you know, when you were serving, there was a lot of differences between the equipment you were wearing. Can you talk to us about that, Caroline? How it differed?
Yeah, so we would never really refer to it as PPE. We'd have a respirator mask, you know, for going through our nuclear, biological, chemical warfare training, along with the rest of the kit. Our boots, our general kit that we were issued, body armour. We never, you know, ballistic glasses, anything like that we were issued for operations or wherever we were serving, for the job that we were doing. It was just, to us, it was just kit. We'd been given it, we were taught how to use it, and we were expected to use it. And if you weren't using it, you would actually be charged for it. You know, if an accident happened, you know, they'd investigate into it. And if it was actually found to be your fault, they would go down the disciplinary route. And I suppose that's where it really does differ, that we were trained and we were expected to wear it, and that expectation we followed and we did, and we didn't cut corners, because we knew the reason why we were wearing that kit and the outcome of it. Whereas maybe in other areas of work, they may cut corners because of not understanding, or it isn't as, you know, I think for us, it was always very well drilled into us. It was the expectation, and, you know, we delivered.
Was there any you know, sort of differences in terms of the PPE? You know, if a body armour, was there a certain body armour type for a female? Then just to explain to the group, compared to males.
No, not at all. There was no difference whatsoever. There was always the running joke that it was one size fits all, and literally it was. You know, in the last few years, there has been a change in things like footwear, that it is more now looked at and tailored to the person who will be wearing it, and that is down to, you know, findings and injuries and things like that. But in the case of our body armour and our uniform, there is no difference whatsoever. Everybody is issued exactly the same kit. The only difference is the size and shape of the person, and it's the uniform is to fit the person. That's it. No other changes.
Fantastic, Caroline. Thank you. Any points on that one, Sarah? Was there any sort of differences at all in PPE, not PPE, in any kit that you would wear, when you were doing your fire stuff on board ship or anything like that? No?
No, pretty much the same. I mean, there was expectation on how you wear your hair and things like that, or so long hair got to be up and things like that. But no real change except for sort of like mess undress and ceremonial dress and things like that. But no, pretty much the same. Short shorts and long socks with some of the tropical things.
I mean, if you do look at the sort of the regimental bands and stuff like that now, especially the lifeguards, yes, there is certain differences and nuances in terms of the breastplates and stuff that they're wearing, the lifeguards and the household cavalry mounted regiment and stuff like that. I still call it lifeguards, but household cavalry mounted regiment, that there is nuances there. But essentially, same Bergens, whether you're another arms or you're infantry, slight differences, boots the same, helmets, all the same kit, and everybody embraced. Louise, would you or any of your colleagues on the call would like to ask a question in terms of what we've just covered so far?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if any, and I am watching the slide that we've got a live feed as well, Jimmy. So I am watching the questions coming through in the live feed too. But yeah, if anybody's got a question, please do pose it in the question box. Yeah, female PPE is a really big topic of debate on every single call that we have to get really good fitting PPE that fits the person, and we've heard repeatedly that the military are kind of ahead of the curve in terms of having particularly body armor that fits the shape of a woman, because we have breasts, so body armor that actually fits around the woman is has always been a really big debate. So it's really interesting to hear that. I mean, I'd be just interested in terms of a question for you guys, and it's, we are really passionate about continuing to have this discussion about people leaving the military and moving into health and safety. Do you have any sort of really positive messages in case there are women who are about to leave or are considering what they do next?
Well, that would be more towards Sarah then, because I want to come on to a specific question for Caroline in the moment. Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to start with the leaving process, the transition, and capturing people at that point in time, and highlighting that health and safety is a viable option at that point. And I think, speaking to some of my colleagues, they did their diplomas before they left, their NEBOSH or the MBQ route before they left, and that would put a person leaving in really good stead. But having an opportunity to talk like this openly and talk to people paving the way in health and safety is such a great thing for someone that is leaving or thinking about going into health and safety. I didn't have that, and if I had that, I think I would have got along my career a little bit further, quicker. So yeah.
Well, you're going to be accelerating a lot now, because every single conversation I'm involved in, you'll be getting an invite, Ms. Quayle, straight away, as you will, Caroline Buckle. I'd just like to come on to just talk a little bit about resilience here. And you sort of touched on it a little bit, Sarah, but Caroline, I think you have a story to tell here that sometimes fills me full of, it fills me full of emotion whenever I think about it, how much you've done and how resilient you are and what you've done over the last few years. And I wonder, without embarrassing you too much, would you sort of mind sharing your story of where you went to and then where you came from and where you are now?
Yeah, okay. So
you've got about 3 minutes.
Right, okay, to time. Right, so in May 2014, I did my final day's service. I was medically discharged, like I said, and that was due to a physical injury, lower limb, and mental health issues. At that point, I probably hit the lowest point that I've ever hit in my life. And I gave up. Quite honestly, gave up. I sat on the sofa and totally, just didn't care anymore. In late 2014, I was introduced to sports recovery. And so in 2015, I went along, dragging my husband along with me to a information day about sports recovery and setting a challenge, and would I like to be part of it. And the challenge was to do the London to Paris triathlon, which is an ultra triathlon, 300 miles. You run from London Marble Arch, you swim the Channel, and then you cycle from Calais to the Arc de Triomphe. And personally, I looked at that challenge and went, well, I'm near on 20 stone here, and I don't think that's going to be happening. But 9 months later, halfway across the Channel, with my husband sort of screaming at me from the boat, going, come on, you've got to keep going. And all I was thinking was, well, I got here, so I might as well finish it. That led on then to me having some self-belief in myself and starting to actually look at myself in a different light. So I started investing in myself through courses, education, and development as well within sports. So I went on and I applied very, very last minute with 10 minutes to spare. I applied for the 2016 Invictus Games for Orlando, and I was over the moon to get sent an email saying, come to the selection weekend. I didn't realise that everybody got that email, but I was over the moon. You know, that was my starting point. I went to the selection weekend. It was hard because it was one of the first things that I'd gone to on my own without my husband being there as support. And I felt very, very ill while I was there. So I thought I'd really messed up all my chances. You know, they ended up having to book an extra room in a hotel for me to stay an extra night because I was so poorly and I couldn't travel. I then got an email through saying, congratulations, you're selected. You're off to Orlando. And it was, but you've got to keep your mouth shut for the next sort of 2 months until we do the big unveil. Did that, but still didn't have that self-belief because I couldn't tell people then, you know, what I was doing. And actually, most people didn't even know I was going to Orlando until it came out through a spotlight piece that the BBC Sports did. Then from there, I came back from Orlando. I decided to do a little bit more investment in myself in psychological terms. So I accessed mental health services. And since then, I suppose I've gone from strength to strength. I learned what makes me tick. I've learned the 2 sports that I absolutely love, para sports. So I'm an indoor rower and I'm
You're not very good at that, though, are you? It's one of your weaker sports, indoor rowing.
My indoor rowing's really weak. I only hold 4 of the 6 world records. So yeah, at the moment it's really weak. I need to get on sit. I took part in the Warrior Games in 2019 out in Tampa, which was probably the biggest changing point for me because I went out there with the belief that I'd worked hard and I was going to do well. And I went out there with a team of 20. And it was probably the most amazing experience of my life because I actually embraced every second. The minute we got to, so the opening ceremony, there is a video of me coming down the ramp and I'm in my wheelchair and I have to use a wheelchair part-time, but I'd accepted that at that point. And I went out to Tampa and I used my wheelchair and I'm coming down the ramp and I'm waving and I'm trying to wheel myself as well. But just something, I was smiling. And it was a real smile because my eyes were smiling as well. And it was the belief. So since then I've gone on. I'm now, during the pandemic, I thought I'd use it to my advantage. So I've completed my fitness instructor's qualification. I'm a personal trainer as well. I'm working with gyms to make them more accessible. And I look at the health and safety aspect on that actually to make sure that they are accessible because a lot of places don't realise that the way they set out equipment, they might want to look accessible and say, yeah, we'll welcome everybody. But actually, if I went in my wheelchair, I couldn't get around half the equipment. So, you know, it's about getting that inclusivity. And yeah, so that's basically my story.
No, I thought we'd end with that one. It was a couple of good questions for you. And I think the message I'd like to get across to everyone here is that I know this is the OneWISH and we're talking about, you know, where women are going, how amazing that women are, and especially in our industry as well, in the health and safety. And, you know, my first port of call, if I want to know anything about CDM, is Louise Hoskin. Why? Because Louise Hoskin is a subject matter expert in what she does. If I wanted to learn about firefighting, I'm going to go to Sara Quayle. And when I look at Caroline Buckle, so I'm looking at resilience from Caroline. I'm looking at a certain level of resilience from Sara Quayle to get in there and get the job done and really fight through and be recognised without producing that CV. And so for me, I don't see female veterans. I see veterans. I see colleagues. I see brothers and sisters in arms. And thank you, Caroline, for that amazing story of resilience. Sarah, thanks very much for giving your views on the health and safety part and being in that space. And I'm sure you'll both be invited again to some of these talks. I can't thank you enough, Sarah. It's been wonderful meeting you this year, and I can't wait to have a beer together. And Buckle, can't wait to see you and have an orange juice with you, elite athlete person.
That's brilliant.
Back to you, Louise. Thank you.
Yeah, and just thank you.